Yeah.
Go again.
On the road again.
I can't wait to get on the...
Nope.
Fucking no. But we're here, and like I say, we're thriving, aren't we? How was your day?
It was good. How was your day?
It was really boring.
Oh.
You know?
Were you at work all day? Were you at home?
At work all day.
At work?
Yes. And I cleaned my kitchen, and I started on that laundry like I talked about last week, so that was a big... Still got like 15 more loads to go, but I folded shit and put it away and just throw it in a basket.
Caroline's clothes made it from the dryer to a laundry basket.
That's how it always ends up for me. But you worked in the salon today.
Mm-hmm. I did. I was at the salon.
How's your emotional cup?
My head hurts, but I'm good though. I'm good because a lot of my clients like slept, so I can handle what you got thrown at me today.
That's the best part about lashes, I'm sure, is
some people like you need to purge though. Like I kept saying before, you just got to purge it out. So let's go. And usually I'm pretty good about like that type of stuff. Just like I let you just do your thing, and I just let it go over my head. Okay. Well, there we go.
See, I forgot it last time, and I'm contributing to my bad habit, but You
need to like stick to one bad habit. You can't have 4.
I'm 3 days no alcohol.
Hey, dude.
So
high five.
That might seem really minuscule to some people, but
freaking awesome.
My grandma is the one that was like, Alicia, if you're really concerned, go a week without alcohol and see if you want it. And if you do, then you have a problem. If you're fine without it, then you're fine.
Yeah,
don't stop worrying about it. No, today about 9:30 a.m. I really wanted a beer.
Wow.
So
yeah, that.
So I'm proud, and I started marking it on our calendar, and I'm just pushing forward.
You are 3 days sober,
and
we could not be more proud of you.
And you got to start from somewhere, right?
Hey, dude, 3 days is 3 days.
1 minute at a time, and so. I started adding it to the calendar just because me, I like lists. I like crossing things off.
It helps.
And I was like, man, I got so much done today that I've been putting off. I think alcohol has just contributed to my depression, and it's not an upper by any means. So it is a depressant, and I've noticed a change. In 3 days.
You do seem a lot chipper, and I've seen you Monday, and it is Wednesday, and you seem a lot more your usual self, if you will.
Yes. So I wanted to talk about a little bit of this today because I got a good question from one of our listeners. Shout out to Casey. And she was like, I noticed that you've been talking about your depression, or you've talked about your depression and how you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut before. And basically she was just like, why did you feel like you had to take a break when you've already talked about this before? And that's a very good question, Casey, because I don't want to feel like I'm coming down and regurgitating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And I feel like for several episodes, that's exactly what I was doing, because I didn't feel like anything was really worth talking about or mentioning, or anyone would really fucking care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to touch on all of that, and to anyone who can relate to any of the shit we're going to talk about today, just know that you're not going through this kind of stuff alone. It's sad how common it is, and yeah. This is Hard Talks with a Blonde and a Hippie. Wow. I don't know where my bell is.
Oh my God. It was right there and you hit your water bottle.
Ding, ding, baby. Your vagina is calling.
Speaking of.
Yeah. Trippy Hippie Alicia jumping on the mic from good old Utah, joined with my favorite blonde.
You're not blonde.
Anymore. Sarah. I am going to curse like a sailor, so just put your earmuffs on your kids if you don't want them to curse like us. And that being said, I want to read you a little something. That is just the cutest picture I ever did see.
Right? And I'll have to show you to it live because her little head just bobs.
Little bobbin.
It is so cute.
So I did not write this. This was published by Everything Period Aligns on Instagram. It's a thread, and
girl, it took me a hot minute to read it.
I can't explain my feelings very well when it comes to past traumas or, you know, things I didn't even realize I was holding on to, things that I haven't processed very well. And then like also kind of having this feeling of hopelessness in like relationships and almost building up a complex of like, oh, what's wrong with me? Am I unlovable? And
basically
then
settling for what you have.
Yeah, because that's what I think I'm consciously worthy of. Yeah, yes. Exactly. And it's really sad. And
it's horrible.
So many people settle and accept mistreatment because
that's how you work your whole life.
Yeah. I mean, so I came across this and I have to read it, right? I guess I start at the beginning.
Maybe start at the beginning. That might be nice.
But I mean, like, the title isn't necessarily what I'm going to talk about. It's just like goes hand in hand.
Message.
Yes, of like where you are at with self-worth, because I've always been like, oh yeah, I love myself, but I feel like I worked so hard to get to know myself and figure out what I stand for, what I want out of life after my divorce. You know, I was single for 3 years. You know, I made all these goals. Like, I'm not going to date or do any of that shit until I like buy my own house. And I thought I had like peaked transcendence, right? Until I came to the realization just recently that we're never done growing. Like, no. We're rarely the fucking teacher. I'm always going to be a student. And I feel like I have become stagnant in like taking care of my own mental health and growth. And I think that's exactly why I've been feeling so stuck. And so I'm just going to start. But keep in mind this it goes deeper than this. So why you keep having sex with the toxic ex? A thread. If you are being deprived of all things a healthy relationship requires, aka love, consistency, safety, and an authentic connection, of course the sex would be amazing because you're already starving. Sex is the fastest way to achieve what feels like a connection. To another person, it's the fastest and easiest way to feel something, even if that something is simply just endorphins, oxytocin, and nervous system activation. As a child, if you were ever abandoned or rejected by your caregivers, you grow into the adult who never experienced consistency. If you experienced a continuous cycle of wounding and soothing from your parents, this becomes what you subconsciously expect in your adult relationships. So in relationships, you adapt by learning to take what you can get, because in childhood, it was rarely ever about your needs. It was always about someone else's. And in order to maintain the connection and ensure your survival, you had to abandon your needs to cope. So in having sex with this person, although it may feel like it's not really about the person or the sex. So in having sex with this person, although it may feel like it's not really about the person or the sex. It's about the high you get finally feeling loved, wanted, and seen in the acting of sex. You're attracted to the feeling the person gives you, not the person. If you can get the connection, you feel of value, chosen and worthy. It's like a fix, and it's enough to make you keep coming back, even if it's no good for you. So instead of shaming or chastising people for going back to toxic relationships, we need to show compassion and educate ourselves on the reason why. The issue is not the act of sex, it's the use of sex as a coping mechanism to soothe feelings of loneliness and unworthiness. And like going into the rest of this, you know, I think that's like so important to like analyze and go deeper in, right? Like we talked about that in like our retreat episode after I went to that retreat, is like really figuring out and understanding why. Like, sure, it could be as simple as like, oh, you keep going back for sex, like you said. But as you said last week, you know, there's a deeper reason and what you're getting off on. And what is that actually like? What does that look like to you guys, right? And so I don't know. It's interesting, like, it almost feels uncomfortable to, like, have a compliment or, like, someone treat you right. And it's interesting because you're like, well, why do I feel this way? Like, this should be, or you're attracted to the people that aren't good for you, and the ones that really you should date, you're not attracted to, and you don't quite understand why.
That's you.
Yeah. And so I am really trying to, like, not just look at my patterns or things that I've been doing, but what is something that I can do to break my own cycle? Mm-hmm. Because it's like a fix.
Yeah.
It's a drug.
That's your addiction.
It is. And it's hard to break. And so with my newfound sobriety, going 3 days in.
Love that.
I not only need to make changes physically, but mentally.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think something that I've been really guilty of in the past, and something that kind of goes hand in hand with Casey's question, is I've almost created this platform for toxic positivity, and I'm going to call myself out right now because I don't want positive mental attitude, PMA, or any of the things that I have said in the past to cloud. Like, I don't want it to ever feel like it's invalidating anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we all have the right, and we should create the space to live in those moments so we can actually process them as things come up, rather than bury them and have just another thing to deal with later. You know what I mean?
Comes up randomly in the middle of something and you're like, whoa, shit.
Yeah. And I wanted to kind of go over what toxic positivity kind of actually is, because I've heard the term and it was just like, well, there could be no such thing, but it does exactly that, right? It kind of is gaslighting in a way. If you're too positive, like, obviously there's a difference between being positive, having bad days, and, like, consciously knowing that there's a better day around the corner versus, like, peanut butter over the cracks of the heart, where you're like, oh, it's not really happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
like, it's not there.
Yeah. It's like you don't believe the own positive words that are coming out of your mouth. So it's kind of just like,
it's like what people say, it's like easier said than done. That's basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're saying it to them. You're like, if they can do it, then maybe I can think about maybe doing it, but I won't.
Yeah.
Because I can tell them what to do and how to, like, have that positivity, but then, like, but I don't want to, because I don't want to do that.
Well, and it's just kind of like, this has been brought to my attention just in, like, reading some things recently. And I think it's very much important to love ourselves and be gentle and patient with ourselves, even especially at our ugliest moments, right? So I've been talking about how I've been just so fucking angry.
Yeah.
And I have this rage, and I kind of just in the past is like, don't show anybody, like, don't let your mask slip, right? Like, we gotta be this embodiment of
bubbly
PMA, and it's just
bubbly.
No, it's literally bubbly, like, driving me to madness. And so,
yeah, if you bottle that shit up long enough, it literally will explode in your face. Literally.
And I'm too old to go to jail for beating some lady's ass in a Target.
For looking at you weird.
Or whatever.
So let's just not.
It may be warranted. She may deserve it. But
I don't know. I don't know.
I think in those moments, I need to love myself harder. And just not have a phone, step away, scream into a pillow.
But yeah, that's the thing, is you need to have that tantrum. You need to let that out, because, like, with kids, like, there's a reason they're having a tantrum. But you want them to let it out so that in the long run, they can figure out how to deal with those big emotions. And so, like, if you don't let yourself have a tantrum, even being an older adult, you will later on have an explosive, like, one day it'll just, like, come all crashing down on you and you won't be able to stop yourself.
Yeah. And it feels like when it rains, it's tsunamis, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, no wonder, right? We're not really, at least our generation and the generations before us, were never really educated on how to process real heavy emotion.
A lot of it's just like go home, be in a door, be by yourself. Like, don't show that you have depression. Don't show you have PTSD. Don't show there is anything wrong with you. Yeah. You have to put up this Stepford wife. Everybody Chase has anger management problems. I will tell you that.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people do. And there's so much shame attached to a lot of those emotions. And I feel like that's why people don't want to talk about them.
And they hide them.
But that just
makes it even more explosive.
Yeah, it's poison. It's poison, and it's been poison to me, and it's poison to you guys. And so
the more you talk about it and like really open up, a lot of people will actually come to you and open up to you about what they're also going through. So that way, just kind of like a good little network for you to have.
Right. And it's like, no wonder we don't know how to deal with emotions as adults, because we never were taught as children. I mean, I remember if I started crying or having a tantrum, you know, my dad would just like come up and firmly grab my arm and be like, shut the fuck up. You know, like, we don't show this to people. We're in public. But some like, and then that's my biggest thing too, is like, people who don't have children can look at other people's kids. And there's a difference between them just being outright disrespectful and naughty versus like, you know, crying and like having a breakdown or whatever. Like, they pass judgment and they're like, oh my God, if those were my kids, ... It's like, no, bitch, you don't know until you're in that position. And why is it so wrong if other people see us upset or crumble? Everyone's like, you should be able to ask for help. Oh, I'm here if you need me. But rarely do people really reach out.
And as soon as you start breaking down, they go, ooh.
Yeah. And by the time people do ask for help, it's way too fucking late.
Yeah.
It's way too fucking late. And it's actually Suicide Prevention Month in September. So
here we are.
We all need to be a little more self-aware.
Reach out to those, Alicia, who are promoting PMA over and over. I'm actually bad at that. I should have reached out to you a lot more too. Here we are. But those who are the happiest need the most checking on. Check to make sure they're okay.
Sarah, fuck yeah, you nailed that on the head. Because like, look at like famous people even too, like Robin Williams, the funniest fucking guy in the world. He dealt with so much behind closed doors, and look where it led him to.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to ask someone if they're okay. It's okay to question whether someone is okay. And I think it's really uncomfortable for so many people. And my question is why? Why, like, if you love someone and if you care as much as you say you do, you know, be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know everyone's got their priorities in their own lives, like, and there's some people whose lives are always in crisis. You can't compare what other people are going to, because everyone's got their own story that we know nothing about.
But too, it's not like you have to go in and check on them every day and be like, you're gonna kill it, like you're gonna like harm yourself. No, it's just like
real fucking talk.
Get to them, get together and be like, okay, let's set a day apart. Let's get together and just check in.
Yeah.
Check in with me.
Yeah.
One day,
a
couple hours. Let's just, everything else is aside. Let's check in. How are you doing, honestly?
Yeah. Get past the superficial level of it all, right? Like, get to the core. It may feel weird at first, but at least you, like, for example, like, I was so shameful and so worried about how others would perceive me, about, like, actually admitting to myself and everyone else that I have a problem. But honestly, just in the last 3 days since admitting that to you, talking to my parents and those that are closest to me, you know, I feel like this weight lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I think it is. I mean, they say that in any AA or NA meeting. That's the first step to recovery, is admitting that you have a problem. And it's not just with addiction, it's in anything, right? I think so many kids too, like, act out in different ways, like, such as like me. I was a fucking pathological liar as a kid.
Yeah.
And I stole. I stole. I was a little klepto fucker.
I know. I remember you talking about your little iTunes cards that
Yeah,
you stole.
not
that
good.
Had no money on them.
And I had good intentions, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I had no money, but I wanted to get my family Christmas gifts, and then it bit me in the ass. And I mean, I totally think I did that to get a reaction too.
Mm-hmm. That's like that was your call for help.
Yeah.
It being a call for help.
And I even wrote this journal entry on Sunday. Or no, it was Monday. No, I don't know. All my days are running together. But I was basically like finally admitting to myself, like, it's beyond alcoholic tendencies, bruh. Like, you're an alcoholic. It's okay to admit that to yourself so you can figure out, like, how to handle it and deal with it in a healthy way, and not by yourself, because you're also carrying the whole fucking weight of the world on your shoulders. Why add that? Do it alone. You know, you don't have to. And in my journal entry, I even wrote, I was like, you know, I almost want to get caught by someone in day drinking. So it's like, I don't have to admit that I have a problem to anyone else. And then in the very next sentence, I'm like, but I think I'd rather drive in front of a semi before I let that happen.
Didn't your mom catch you, though?
And then that very day, my mom went into her bathroom, and there were 3 empty cans of Vizzies in her cupboard. And I didn't close it all the way. So she found them, and she's like, why are you drinking at 1 p.m? And I'm like, because I wanted to. And she's like, but why are you hiding it? I'm like, because I know it's inappropriate for me to want to drink at 1 p.m.
Or want a beer at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and I was immediately so embarrassed. Like, I started packing up all my shit. I was going to come home and probably drink more.
Probably, because your embarrassment was getting to you. I better crack a beer.
Yeah, and instead, my mom approached me in a way that I wasn't expecting it. She was very accepting, and she was like, I really don't want you to be embarrassed. I want you to find strength in this, you know, because you don't have to deal with this alone. And I'm not mad, and I'm not ashamed of you. And I think I very much needed to hear that. And it was just kind of ironic that I just wrote about it. Like, maybe I put that intention out in the world, because it's not what
you put that in the universe, and the universe delivered it on a fucking silver platter.
Right. But it was something that I hid so hard that it almost, like I said, was a relief to get out. And the more people that I've opened up to and been honest about with, like, how bad it actually has been, the easier it is to say out loud. Yeah. And the easier it is for me to accept and
to want to change.
Be better. Learn.
Especially when your 5-year-old calls you out on it. That's when you know you have a problem.
Yeah, well, and that was like a year ago, too.
I know, so. And
I'm not saying that, like, I was fucked up, blackout drunk every day, but it would start early. And then by the end of the night, you know, I'd be coasting enough, and it's like, oh, I've had 6 or 7 beers today.
Yeah, and that's just since.
I've noticed a shift in my motivation. I'm not as bloated.
My Look at that.
Pants are fitting.
Did you put your other pants on?
No. Okay.
Those are
but good. I don't know. I think you have to start small and be able to.
3 days is a freaking win, dude.
Yeah.
3 days.
Yeah, be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with who you see standing in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Shit.
That's a good start.
It is a good start. And it's hard, you know. I almost have this like alter ego when I get angry. And I think there's like a big identifier to create here because I've done several episodes with recovered addicts or people who have been in recovery but who have relapsed. Like, I won't say any names, but someone who's been on the show states they're sober, but they are not. And it's a double-edged sword when they come on and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm all about recovery, but, you know, it's chill to have a drink every now and again because alcohol wasn't my thing. You know, it was hard drugs. Or, you know, it's hard because it's like, where do you draw that boundary with yourself? Because everyone is different. But for me, I think if it's not one thing, it's another. And so
you just have like an addictive personality.
Yes.
So if you're not addicted to something, you'll become addicted to another thing.
And so that's something that I really want to keep a close, watchful eye on. You know, I've never been into hard drugs, but I've definitely done my fair share of having experiences. And I think that's why I need to step out of the rave scene.
Yes.
Because I also...
Especially trying to be a recovering addict.
Yeah, even hearing that like kind of makes me cringy, but I think it'll be easier to hear. Because I haven't heard it phrased that way. You know, oh, I'm a recovering addict.
Yeah.
That's weird. But...
That's what you are. But that's the thing, like taking precedence that you are recovering.
Yeah.
Like don't say I'm a recovering addict, be like, no, I'm recovering. Like I figured out I had a problem. I took it and now I am in the straightaway of I'm recovering.
Yeah. And so I don't want to mask any of this anymore. I know this is like me being is probably the most vulnerable I've ever been on this show, which is
weird.
Wild.
You say a lot of shit.
But it's easier for me to laugh and crack jokes at myself about like sex and whatever. Like
that's me.
This is hard talks to the max. And I've had a lot of people gaslight me and mistreat me in the past and throw my own words back at me. Like, oh, the hard talks hippie doesn't like to have hard talks. Well, bitch, this is me having hard talks with myself. So you can go fuck yourself. That's all I have to say about that. And I don't want to cover up with toxic positivity anymore. I want to learn how to harness and use healthy positivity.
And how to avoid toxic positivity.
How to avoid toxic positivity. Instead of just stay positive, say, that must be really hard. Accept it. Instead of everything happens for a reason, say, I'm sorry you're going through this.
I say that a lot.
Validate yours or that person's whatever it is. Instead of things will work out or look on the bright side, say, this just really sucks right now. Is there anything I can do to support you? And I think that, those are...
that. We'll have to put that out. I like that a lot.
And, that's like something else I've shifted too. Like when I meet people or I bump into people at concerts or shows or whatever, like last night, rather than asking, oh, how are you? And getting the regular fine, I'm fine. You know what that stands for, right?
I'm fine. What does it stand for?
Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yes.
I've been like greeting people and being like, hey, I see you. And people kind of either are like, oh, thank you. Or like pause and are like, what? And I'm like, no, man, like, how you been? I see you. And a lot of people have kind of like perceived that so much better because it feels like when people are like, oh, hey, how have you been? They just have to give you this pretty little gift wrapped one word answer.
Because that's just like a common number. Like no matter who you are always are going to ask like, how have you been? Like I haven't seen you for a while. How have you been? Like that's just an automatic question that comes up, so it's an automatic response.
It's because it's a nicety, right? It's
how you were raised to be like, you see someone, you say, how are you?
Yeah, people aren't
you don't
really
care
asking
how they're doing.
Yeah.
You just ask it because you're like, well, my mama told me to do this or I would get spanked.
This is a part of a greeting, you know.
This is just what I say.
And so how interesting would it be the next time someone asks you like, oh, how are you doing? For you to actually open up and give them the long, full, in-depth version of it.
I'm feeling like shit right now.
And let me tell you why. Thank you for asking Joe, the cashier at Target.
Oh my God. They would look at you like you were crazy.
Or maybe not.
But like, that's the thing. Like, why? If you're asking how I'm doing, I'm going to tell you how I'm doing. I'm not going to just say fine anymore. You want to ask me? Well, you know what? I'm freaking exhausted because my goddamn 1-year-old does not know how to sleep without a boob in her mouth. Okay, my nipples hurt. All right, I'm done. I'm over
My
it.
nipples hurt.
They do. Like, she's like, will like get into like a sleep mode and just like chomp down. Okay, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
My arm is like numb from sleeping like this from the last year.
I'm surprised you don't have back problems.
Dude, my freaking back is ripped today.
I'm overly exhausted, and if you look at me wrong, I might rip your fucking face off like a zombie.
Honestly, we're gonna.
But you know, don't scare anybody unless, like, you know what I'm saying.
I mean, don't like rip your face off. Just be like, I'm just angry. Just be angry. Yeah. Love it. Just say you're mad. I'm mad. Okay.
So I just want to formally apologize to anybody who's ever felt like I've been dismissive or invalidating through my positivity. I think the only negative feedback we've ever gotten on this show is I've received a few comments on how much people hate how positive I am, or you know how you know, and it's like I totally validate that because there are some fucking days where we are just not okay.
No.
And why is it not okay to not be okay? I totally want to fucking stab that stigma in the face and toss it into the garbage.
To not be okay.
Yeah. Be okay, not okay on some days.
You need to have those days.
Figure out where it's stemming from. Oh, yeah, you're frustrated with work. But if you're anything like me, it's when people are like, oh, why are you sad? Or why are you angry? It's not just one thing. It's everything mounted on top of everything else. And it gets me to a point where my emotional cup is overflowing and I can't take any fucking more. And so in this process, I'm really fucking proud that I've started to grow again, because I thought I had already learned everything about myself and everything I needed to do a year ago. And that's just totally not the case. And so I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting that way. It's definitely weeded out who's actually going to be able to be there for me.
Yeah, that helps.
I need to finally validate my feelings, my needs, my wants, my hurt, and really take care of myself now. And so I think that's my next step in healing.
In your recovery. Oh, I love that word.
I really hate it. Cringe. Well,
because like you're in, like it means like you've made it. Like you've made it. Like you are in recovery. Like that's like when you're like going through major surgery, you're in recovery. You made it through that. Mm-hmm. So like this is like your quote unquote surgery that you just went through is now you made it to the other side.
We need to get over this feeling of unworthiness because we deserve it all. Everything that we've ever imagined as kids, we can have that. I can have that.
You want to be a cat? Be a cat. Meow, bitch.
You're meowgical.
You're meowgical.
Magical. So I don't know.
Perfect. I cannot purr. That was weird.
This one's going to be a hard one to put out, but it's going to go out.
You're going to put it out.
It's going out.
You're not even going to like edit this shit. You're just going to add some music, add some shit, and just send it into the fucking world because it needs to be said.
Yeah, I want Bad Al, my alter ego, to like go to sleep. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to rage anymore. I don't love this feeling of emptiness. It is hollow. Mm-hmm. And it's turned me into
a nasty,
just but a shell of who
you used to be.
I want to be, not who I used to be.
Who you want to be.
A lot of things are left better in the past.
It's true.
Just like these kinds of relationships, we keep going back to them expecting a different result, but that's quite absolutely the definition of insanity. It's not going to change. You recognize the patterns. You don't have to ignore them anymore. It's okay to admit that you're in something similar like this, because it got to a point where I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'd get so frustrated, and then I felt even more alone because I couldn't talk to anyone about my situation because, you know, people get sick of hearing about the same issues over and over again. Oh, I can only give you the same advice so many times. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and blah, fuckity, blah, blah, blah. Something I want to say about that, though, if you've ever been that friend who gets annoyed with people like me who are in these situations, I implore you to knock it the fuck off right now and still be there for your friend. It doesn't matter if she's talking about the same thing over and over and over again. That's your job as someone who loves them, to hear it all.
You can even give the same advice, just word it differently.
Because I can promise you, as someone who's been in this situation,
one day it'll stick.
Yeah, you get to the point where you're just exhausted. And I don't have any more sadness, or I really don't. I just need to take care of me.
Yeah.
The first step for all of us is figuring out.
Find your inner person.
Yeah. That's the person you should be looking for.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. And we need to make vulnerability the new sexy. If you want to cry, cry. Be a man and cry, okay? You know, go to therapy. Write about it. Meditate.
But why is therapy so bad? Like, you can even go to therapy. You could be like, me. Like, why can't me and Chase go to therapy?
It's the idea that men are supposed to be strong still is super.
Women love a good vulnerable man.
A vulnerable man.
They can say the word, it's even better.
Yeah. And that's the facts, though, but it still stands strong in society today. Like, men are expected not to be weak, and I think we need to shatter that stigma as well, because if you're an emotional guy or you need therapy or what the fuck ever, like,
dude,
own
like
that shit.
And that's the thing, like, if you know what is wrong and you can like open that up and be like, hey, I do this for this reason, people would be like, either people would be offset by how vulnerable you are, that damn word again, or you're going to find somebody who's going to be like, I love that you know that about yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck
yes,
love
Sarah.
that you know what your needs are and how you can meet your needs. Mm-hmm. Because if someone's like, oh, that's weird, then obviously they need shit to work on too. Because you know what? Do it.
Yeah, we're all just fucking human beings. I've said it before. Just looking for the same fucking thing. Doesn't matter who you are, your color, creed, or any of your background shit is, your status. All the human experience requires is validation and to be seen and loved. So stop shaming yourselves into thinking otherwise. Emotions are hard for a reason, and I really want to like take my life and my mental health by the reins, and I want to quit making excuses for myself and fucking be the bad bitch I know I can be. So that's my spiel for the day.
Love it. That was good.
Thank you. I feel like
now you just have like this episode on repeat.
To myself, listen to
yourself.
It over and over again. I feel like I should have started with, my name is Alicia and I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, that just gave me the chills.
And it's when everyone says, hi, Alicia.
Hi, Alicia. My name's Sarah. I'm a book addict. I don't read. I don't watch porn. I'm an addict to written porn.
Well,
That's good. No.
No, but I think that's something interesting to hit on really quick though, because it was like, I think this is all finally like submerging and coming up now because I've had some big life changes outside of what I've been talking about, and a lot of things from my past that I said this to you on Monday, things that I didn't think mattered or affected me so deeply or
getting like dredged up.
Yeah, they're coming up in dreams or I'm being triggered in random fucking ways. And a lot of people don't think that they have baggage, and I beg to differ. It's not always something traumatizing in your past, but it's the way you might behave or the way that you were raised or like you.
Everybody has baggage.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
You could have 10 cats. That's baggage.
If you're bad at communicating,
that's baggage.
There's a reason for it. If you are disloyal, there's a reason for that. You know, like we all have scars, and it's kind of like stretch marks, right? Why do we hide our scars? That's a part of our story, and it's what makes up our lives. Yeah.
They're your fucking warrior stripes.
Without our baggage, who would we be? So rather than looking at it in a negative way, why don't we call it something different? I don't know.
We'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
It's not baggage. It's your carry-on.
I like that. We're going on a vacation.
Because you always take a carry-on. It's your personal item. Yeah. You are bringing a personal item to the relationship.
So
because you always have a personal relationship on vacation. You don't bring baggage. You bring a personal item.
Yeah, and if you're bad in relationships or struggling in life, maybe really look inside and figure out why.
And that's what's nice to talk to someone, is that they can help you figure out why.
Yeah, what's missing? Why are you feeling empty? Why are you afraid to be alone? You know, I don't know. Whatever this looks like to you, I want to like send my love and applaud you, because I know that, I mean, this has definitely by far been the most difficult episode to record, but I think it'll be one of the ones I'm most proud of, because I needed to tell the masses that I'm not okay so I can become okay. Mm-hmm. And I just appreciate you guys for sharing this space with me and loving me no matter what. Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome. I do love you.
On a positive note, you guys, we'll be back next week, and we will not be talking about toxic bullshit. But, you know, just know that I will try and still maintain positivity, but on a healthier, more realistic grounding place. Yeah, I don't know.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
More achievable.
Yeah.
A more achievable PMA, if you will.
Yeah, like, and then like when we sat down to come back to the drawing board when it came to podcasting, I was like, let's make small goals, because I always beat myself up the most, and I know many of us do, when we have these expectations set for ourselves and they're unattainable. Like we beat ourselves up because we don't meet our own expectation. Make a smaller expectation.
Hey, you know? we already beat a goal.
And I hate that cliche when people are like, well, don't have expectations. I'm like, doesn't matter who the fuck you are, dude.
You always have an expectation.
No matter, like, even if you don't think you do, like, if you have those feelings of being let down after something, you had some kind of expectation.
You might not know it, but you did.
Yeah. So love yourselves, you guys. Love yourselves really fucking hard, and know that whatever you're going through, you're definitely not struggling by yourself.
Your neighbor's going through.
And just be kind to others. You know, like I said, everyone is going through something that you have no idea about. So save those judgments for later And if you see someone who needs help, reach out on a deeper, non-superficial level. Yeah.
It's a good ending.
Thank you. If you guys want to give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook, you can do so at Hard Talks with B&H. But also, I'd really love to hear from you guys if this resonated with you at all, if you can relate in any way. Send me an email at hardtalkswithbnh@gmail.com. I'm usually pretty quick to respond to any messages we get on our podcast page or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys have a really great weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Go read a porn novel.
It's me. It helps me. Helps my brain.
Yeah. Whatever gives you relief. It doesn't matter what it looks like to anyone else. Do that. If it makes you feel good, do it.
Find something to help you unwind.
Mm-hmm. If ugly girl crying on the floor, holding yourself, screaming into a pillow makes you feel better in this moment right now,
do it harder.
Do it. Scream
Take
louder.
3 pillows.
Yeah, for real. For real. But just know you guys are loved and you are worthy. You are worthy.
And we see you.
Yes. Until next week. Bye.